What's up guys, it's me Zero to make Kitsune, and man, it is late at night. But I wanted to get this video out today since I said I would. So my thoughts on the Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Essentially, it feels like Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, but with, updated combat from Andromeda's gameplay. The only really big new addition is this sort of phone game like mode where you can send a soldier out on missions and you leave it to him, check back a couple hours later, phone game stuff. I guess you could get some cool unlocks from it, and I don't know, I'm not really interested in that. But the multiplayer itself, it's pretty fun. They reduced the rounds from 11 to 7, which really allows you to expedite the process. Maybe it goes back to the 11 rounds in the higher difficulties, because I only played the first difficulty, just get my feet wet on how to play the game in multiplayer. But so I'm happy with 7 rounds. Hopefully it's like that for all of them. The improvements to the gameplay because of the single player. So you've got stages that are more three-dimensional where you're climbing up on roofs and stuff. You're zipping and flying around the map. A really nice thing is that powers don't share cooldowns, so it's easier to get tech and biotic combos now. And the last really interesting thing is that some abilities now have like charges or alternate effects when you hold down the key, but that's all Andromeda stuff, so it's all built, it all goes into the multiplayer because of Andromeda. So that's pretty cool. On the downside, oh boy, the connections were all over the place. I was getting some games where I'd walk 3 steps forward and then jump back 4. Literally 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So those games were not unplayable. I could still shoot enemies, but it was irritating to jump over some cover and then end up back behind the cover. That was super irritating. I couldn't figure out how to fix these audio issues where sound effects would be playing in my headphones, not in the direction that they were actually coming from. So I'd hear monsters, arriving on the field to my left side, and I'd turn to the left and see absolutely nothing, then look in the distance and see the actual monsters that had spawned and who had made those noises. So I don't know what that's about. Occasionally I failed to actually load into the map once I went into a multiplayer game. One time it actually crashed the entire game, other times it just sent me back to the Mass Effect Andromeda main menu. And the last little downside is not a technical issue, but the way they've designed the enemy spawns, from what I can understand, they're trying to encourage players to be a lot more mobile and less hunkered down like they were in Mass Effect 3. So you've got scenarios where enemies are constantly flanking you, and sometimes they'll actually spawn literally behind your back. And while that's not a technical mistake from the developers, it's intentional obviously, it's gonna make pub lobbies a lot harder. And by pub I mean when you go into solo groups. They're gonna be a lot harder because a big part of when pub lobbies fall apart in the Mass Effect multiplayer is when someone goes down 600 feet away from everyone else, and splitting up's gonna be happening more often because of how everyone's gonna be a lot more mobile. But aside from that, same shit, different day. Mass Effect 3's multiplayer was good, but not that great, and had its fair share of bugs. Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer is looking to be the same. Some other information: there are 26 classes on launch. Half of them are humans, obviously. I don't know why BioWare does that. Sadly, there are no Quarian, no Geth, no Bateran, or any of the other cool Milky Way classes for the multiplayer right now. They'll probably show up as DLC, but I'll talk a little bit on that at the very end of this. The loot system is also back. I don't know whether or not they're doing what they did in the previous Mass Effect multiplayer, which is once you actually got an item from the loot list, it was removed and you wouldn't ever have to worry about getting it again, or if they've taken a page out of Overwatch's book and said, yeah, you can still get duplicates. Hopefully you don't get duplicates in this game, because that's like the worst feeling ever. There's a new form of currency to buy these boxes where you get all the items from. Not necessarily sure how it works. I'm gonna have to look more into that when the game fully unlocks. And there's a new prestige system. So instead of simply getting, war assets from Mass Effect 3, instead they'll be actually boosting the strength of your units, because each of them has a unique little passive that steadily increases as you prestige that character. The last little thing is the idea on DLC. I'm really worried about how they're going to do Andromeda's DLC. The reason why Mass Effect 3's multiplayer DLC, not the single player content, but the multiplayer DLC was free, was not because of any goodwill on BioWare. I was about to say Bethesda, I got Bethesda on my mind. On BioWare EA, that was a PR move because they had screwed up the ending to Mass Effect 3 so fiercely, and they just tried to, mend some bridges by giving out free DLC, and then it became expected, so they just kept doing it. I doubt it's going to be that way, so probably expect to be buying the multiplayer DLC. Hopefully we get good cool content like Milky Way Galaxy characters. I really want to play as a Quarian in this new Mass Effect system. I don't know, maybe a Quarian will be in DLC in the single player. I'm disappointed that it looks like Quarians just got left out. They were my favorite race in Mass Effect. But, oh well. The main class I used in multiplayer was the Human Sentinel, and she was a lot of fun, creating little barriers in places, all that such. But maybe I'll upload the actual footage I recorded, not using in the background and stuff, but actually uploading the whole thing. Leave in the comment section if you'd like to see that. I have like the opening 2.5 hours of me playing. There's some talking on that, but for the multiplayer stuff, it's just complete silence. I didn't really want to record my voice for those. Again, leave in the comments if you want to see that, and I'll see you next time.